welcome everyone. First of all, I'm joined today by Marshall Atkinson. I'll do a formal intro for him or let him do his intro in a second, but just want to welcome the Gouden community out today. We have an amazing topic on sustainability in the apparel print-on-demand industry. And we are live on Facebook as well with this. So if you are joining in via Zoom, welcome. If you're joining in via Facebook Live, welcome as well. And for the folks on Zoom, you can just put any questions that you have today into the chat window. And if you have a question on Facebook Live, just post into Facebook as well. And Zlata will help me go through all of the various questions that we have. So with that, we're going to get things rolling. I'm going to share my screen, Marshall, and let's get the ball rolling here.
Great.
All right, this is loading up. Here we go. So again, talking about sustainability in the apparel print-on-demand world today. And Marshall, I think this is going to be a great topic because it's so timely. Everyone seems to be coming up with different thoughts and questions and what to do's about it. So I'm so glad to have you here today to demystify this with us.
I'm happy to be here, and thank you so much for the opportunity, Mark.
Marshall, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you, Marshall? Besides my friend.
Yeah, well, I've been in this industry since 1993, mainly from the decorator side of things. So I actually ran the companies that prints all the shirts, and the companies that I worked for were pretty huge, right? So they're not just the guy down the street that prints shirts out of a strip mall. They were really large shops printing millions of shirts a year. And sustainability is something that I started doing a long time ago with one of the companies that I ran. So I was able to get them to be the first company to be a t-shirt company to be a sustainably certified company through the Sustainable Green Printing Partnership. And then I went to a different company. I got them to get that certification as well. So I have championed two companies through the sustainability certification program. And because of that, I actually became a board member for the SGP movement for about 4 or 5 years, a little while ago. But and this is a topic that I talk about all the time at trade shows. I write blog articles about it. I host topics about this. Mark, you were just on the SNS Activewear panel that I put together about it.
Yeah.
About print on demand, and that kind of leading into this. So there's a lot of interest in sustainability. And so I certainly don't have all the answers because, who really does? But I know a lot about it. And I'm very happy to be here today and talk about it.
Thanks, Marshall. And I'd be remiss in reminding folks that you also run Shirt Lab. I know we're a sponsor of that and a huge fan and supporter. And so I don't know if you want to just give a quick shout out to Shirt Lab as well for folks.
Great. Well, thanks for that. So Shirt Lab is a mastermind group that's aimed at making you better. We just had our big virtual event Friday and Saturday where we had our Shirt Lab Summit. So you may have seen that, and Gouten, of course, was one of the sponsors for that. So thank you, Mark, for helping us with that.
Thank you.
We're all about best practices for sales and marketing, as well as operations. So if you're interested in learning about that, our mastermind group is shirtlabtribe.com. And if you want to find out about Shirt Lab Summit, that's shirtlabsummit.com. You can check both of those out.
Awesome. And we'll make sure to put those in the notes when we send that out to folks, Marshall. Thank you. All right. So if you're tuning in and you're new to the world of Gouden, we operate a smart supply chain, as we like to call it, because it's all tech and data driven, where brands can look to optimize their e-commerce business using some form of on-demand manufacturing. And so today's topic, we're going to kind of focus a lot around apparel, but at Gouden, we also do a lot of wall art, home goods, phone cases, you name it. We have it. We've been around since 2015 and continue to grow. And we're really, really excited to have all of our partners tuning in today, as well as hopefully some new folks looking to partner with us go forward. So. And if you're interested in learning more about Gouden, just feel free to email us. We have our contact information at the end. All right, so what's on the docket for today, Marshall? We're going to give people a little bit of an overview of what is sustainability, kind of dive into green as a purpose or an initiative or a movement, importance of data throughout all of this, and then I think you're going to talk a little bit at the end about some of the certifications and procedures that people can go through to make sure that they are becoming sustainable. And I think we'll try to take some questions throughout this as well, and we'll kind of just dive right in. And we'll start with Sustainability 101.
Great. So this is all about what is sustainability and why does it matter, right? And to me, this is the question that hangs everything about the kind of the future and why we're looking at this. And I think right now, more than ever, post-pandemic, if you want to even call it that, people are really looking at ways that we can do things better. And in the apparel end of things, the reason why sustainability matters is because I'm not sure people understand this, but from a planet damaging perspective, the apparel industry is the second worst, only compared to the oil industry. It's so, and the reason for that is because of our water consumption, how our stuff is grown and being manufactured, and everything that lands in the landfill. Right. So, and this is really has to do a lot with fast fashion and a lot of the stuff that a lot of the apparel manufacturers do, not so much about what we do in our little t-shirt world, but we need to do it better. And we have a lot of eyeballs on us. And the reason why sustainability matters is because your customers are wanting this. They want to know how you stand on it. And let me tell you, if there's two companies out there, and let's just say everything is exactly the same. One company is selling a t-shirt, the other one is selling a t-shirt that is more sustainably produced and grown and printed and shipped and all that. And everything's exactly the same. The person with the better story, you know, the sustainability story, is more likely to get to sale because a lot of people are very interested in that right now. Right. So if you're hooking up and linking story with things, sustainability has a great story, but you have to tell that story honestly and be able to prove it. You can't just call yourself green and you're considered green just because you put a label on something. It's all about what you're doing.
Hey, Marshall, so I know we're going to get into that next. So just a couple, follow-ups to this Sustainability 101.
Mm-hmm.
I guess first question, like, why is fast fashion sort of the culprit, or why do you call out fast fashion here, like as something that's really the major area of concern? Can you kind of elaborate on that so people understand why that's
sure.
such a dynamic threat?
Well, let's think about it, right? So store A, we're not going to name names, but store A, they invent their apparel line and they manufacture it. They make the shirts, the jeans, the pants, the socks, the shoes, all that stuff, right? They make all that. And then what do? They put it into the department store or they put it into a warehouse. And then what happens to it, Mark, when it doesn't sell? And what they do is they discount it, and then they discount it, and then it goes through a discount broker, and then it's shipped from here to there or where. And then eventually, if it never sells because it's just really ugly or whatever, it's just not the right fashion, they burn it. All that carbon's going up in the air. That's what, or it goes to a landfill. One of those two things. So it's like the reason why I think print on demand really is such a key thing is because we're only printing when something is sold. That's what the real interesting thing about what Gouten does is because you guys are helping link that up, and sustainability is right now part of that journey, just
Right.
because we're only printing and manufacturing something when something is sold, there's no inventory,
Yeah.
right?
I mean,
So
that's
that's the
something.
great thing about it.
Yeah, no, I was just going to echo. I mean, that's a huge comment that our CEO, Brian, always makes, which is like sustainability doesn't just have to be all the underlying stuff, but it's just your business model itself needs to be sustainable. When some of these brands are just mass producing bulk inventory, and they're not going to sell it all. So,
Mhm.
why would you, sort of manufacture all that waste?
Yeah,
And,
right.
it doesn't, all those shirts and clothes and dresses and stuff all cost money, and so
Yeah.
your own business isn't sustainable.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Hey,
if people did it right,
yeah,
they wouldn't need the outlet mall.
yeah,
Okay.
totally. Hey, all right. So another question before we move on to the next topic.
Mhm.
I hear a lot of the term circularity being thrown around
Yep.
related to sustainability. Can you kind of comment or explain sustainability versus circularity and or the interdependencies?
Well, to me, it's everything. It's about how things start, right? It's all process driven, right? How do
Mhm.
things start? With the information, the order, we're manufacturing, we're shipping, whatever. And then it's also the end of life of things, right? So we've got clothes in our closet, right? And do we really need another shirt or another pair of shoes, right? And so what do we do with all this stuff? And so when we're thinking about sustainability, we have to think about the end result, the end of life, can we take this stuff and reuse it or whatever? One of the best companies that really addresses this, I think, is Patagonia.
Mm.
And so they actually have ads, you may have seen them, where they say, don't buy this jacket. And what they'd rather do is bring your old jacket in and they'll fix the zipper or sew up the hole. And they'd rather do that for free than sell you something new.
Wow.
And,
That's
and
pretty
so,
bold.
yeah. And so, but that's what they're known for. They're
Yeah.
big into environmental, save the parks, all that kind of stuff. And they've taken a stance on it. And I think their customer base, because they're outdoorsy nature people, they love that about them and will happily buy from them because of that. And so it's their core part of their business. And I think if you think about the whole circle, the circularity, the whole circle of things, the circle
Yeah.
of life, right? You have to take a lot of this stuff into account about where the ingredients come from
Right. Sure.
of what we do, right? And that's why if you could use, like, if you're doing a 50-50 garment, and does the polyester part of it come from recycled water bottles, that's way better than virgin plastic.
Yeah.
you know
Great. Well, I'm saving a few questions on that specific example for later, because I do
okay.
believe in like making incremental progress is better than no progress, and
Yes.
which sort of leads us into green isn't a color, it's a movement. What's your
Yes.
thought here?
Well, when we say that we're green, right, you see that a lot. This is a term you see a lot. It's, they're a green company or whatever. What
Mhm.
this really means isn't like, their logo is green. It means that you have a kind of an environmentally focused thought process on how they do business. It's like in their core values, right?
Right.
So the movement here is about how we're really adopting this kind of mindset in our business. And to me, it has to be a holistic approach, right? So it's not just the shirts that we're doing, or we're doing print on demand, but are we doing everything in our office space? Are we printing that email? Are we looking at our energy usage in the office, or whatever, right? Commuting, or can we do a teleconference rather than flying to Dallas, right? What can we do that's going to be better? And that's the choices that we make. So to me, when we talk sustainability, it's all about these choices and how it all comes back to the decision tree of how we do things in the company. And so that's what that really kind of means.
Yeah, it's interesting. It feels like I think a lot of companies get judged on being like 100% green or nothing, right? And there's no in between. There's no like, hey, like good for you. You're making a few initiatives like on a journey, right? Like, I mean, it seems like this is more of a marathon than a sprint to get to. And I,
Yes.
I guess I sometimes feel like a lot of companies get singled out for, they try to expound that they're doing things that are green and sustainable, but then, people complain that it's not 100%. It's like,
Well,
achieving a 100% goal is hard here, right?
people are going to complain about everything, Mark, and let me tell you, if you don't have a tribe of haters, you're not doing things right. Okay.
Uh-oh.
So
Uh-oh.
there's going to be people who don't like what you do just because they're the keyboard ninja, right? They're not going to like what you do. But I think if you stick to your guns and you're transparent about what you're doing and you're showing, hey, we're not perfect, but here's where we are. Here's where we started. You could start today and not be perfect, but you're showing your progress along the way. These are the goals that we want to achieve by the end of this year or whatever. Here's where we are. If you'd like to help, jump in, right? I think that's a better strategy than worrying about what the naysayers are going to say.
Yeah, I love that. I just made a note of that. I think that's a great way to get started, is just saying, you know what, we're not going to be perfect by the end of the year, right? Maybe not even for
Yeah,
5 years, but
right,
here's the journey that we are on, and here's the things that we're going to accomplish each year,
yeah,
constantly making that incremental progress towards
right,
becoming,
sure. And then another thing, I think if anybody ever challenges you on what you're doing,
yeah,
a great response to have is, hey, if you're going to say this isn't the right way of doing it, you have to suggest a better way, because
yeah,
otherwise they're just trolling you. So give us
right.
the information about how to do it better and help us achieve that
Yeah, versus just complain about it, or
versus just complaining, right?
yeah.
So there's always going to be somebody complaining,
All right, Marshall. So, if you're a business, then the real question starts with the why, right?
Right.
Why are
Yep.
you doing this in the first place?
Yes, exactly. So start with your why, right? You tie that back to Simon Sinek's awesome TED Talk, right? But you want to start with your why. So is your why because you're really concerned about environmental conditions on the earth and Earth Day and that whole thing, and that's fantastic? Or is your why about cost optimization and reducing all your costs so you can make more profit? So sustainability certainly has a lot of that in it, right? Is your why because your customers are demanding it? Is your why because of governmental regulations that are either current or on the horizon and you want to get ahead of that, right? Or maybe it's all of them, right? But you have to really understand your why as to why you want to do it. And if you don't know your why, you might come out of the gate really hot, and then 6 months from now, you're not doing anything.
Yeah,
So I think if you understand your why a little better, you're going to have more long-term success because you have a North Star that you can point to.
yeah. Well, I think it gets back to, like you're saying, what's the purpose or what's your goal to accomplish with this? Is it, just to, promote yourself and advertise yourself in a certain way, which, doesn't seem viable for the long term, right? It's really more about, how is this something, how is, in essence, your initiative around sustainability
Yeah,
sustainable in
right.
itself, right?
Sure. And if you're saying to your customers that you're green, but you're really not, you're just labeling it that way, you are going to be found out because somebody's going to ask a pointed question. Hey, show me the data, right? And if you can't answer that, you're in trouble, because these days, what happens when people discover something they don't like about you that isn't true, they weaponize that. And it's everywhere on the internet in about a half a second. So I think the thing to do is, if you're going to promote yourself as a sustainable company, or this is a sustainable brand, you really need to be doing it and you need to know what's going on. That's why you have to start with your why and really understand why you're doing things and what's a success look like, and be really crystal clear about it, because that's going to help you achieve your goals.
Got it. Great points. All right. So with that, what are your 3 R's?
All right, as I like to use my pirate voice here, Mark. So it's the three
Do it.
R's,
Yes.
right? The three
Love
R's.
it.
This is how you remember it, right? It's the three R's. It's reduce, reuse, and recycle. Okay,
All
those are
right.
the three R's.
One more time, just to make sure everyone got it.
Reduce, reuse, and recycle. Okay, so you got to say it like a pirate. Okay, so when we reduce, right, that means we're reducing the amount of something.
Yeah.
Okay. For example, in your office, we want to reduce the energy consumption of the office. And maybe an easy way to do that is have a programmable thermostat or use LED lights with a motion sensor, right? So you have a supply closet, right, that only turns on when somebody walks in the room. And that way you don't have to worry about somebody turning the light switch off. Okay. So reduce means we're going to reduce our energy, and these are the steps we're doing. Reuse means we're going to reuse something. We're going to reuse the packaging. We're going to not buy brand new office furniture. We're going to shop a used furniture mart to buy that desk and chair. Why buy new when there's used stuff, right? That's what that means. Recycle is, that's the easy one everybody understands. We're going to recycle something to make something new, right? But did you know that you can recycle your electronics, your computer, cell phones, batteries, hydraulic fluid, metal, paper, cardboard? I mean, there's all types of things that you can recycle that goes beyond just what everybody thinks, which is what? A soda can and a water bottle.
Yeah.
So
well, I think
go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say, I think some of the things that you point out is, sustainability again isn't just like, oh, here's the fabric and here's the dyes and here's how we manufactured it. It's all these other surrounding elements, like, because you could, have, organic cotton and organic dyes, and then still, you got the AC turned on all day in the factory, just pumping out air and CO2 and stuff. So
Yeah, right.
I think when you're looking at sustainability, again, it's not just one little sliver of it. You kind of have to really look at your whole business, including your infrastructure as well as the goods that you're producing.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
really holistic, right?
Yes. And then, of course, if you're outsourcing your production, does your vendor care about this stuff?
Right.
Right. And so you start with yourself, obviously, right? But then it's also your network, right?
Yep.
And then maybe once it becomes a core value, sustainability, if that's part of your core values, then that affects the decision about who you partner with.
That's right. That's
right. So
one of the things, I remember you and I talked about this maybe a few weeks ago. Maybe you still remember, but you were talking about, as you mentioned, reuse today,
yeah.
and packaging. You were mentioning some packaging that you were even looking at that was like it was like a almost like paper packaging, right? Or was it bamboo?
Yes.
Or
Well, I have that over here.
do
You
you?
should have said that earlier. I would have
I
grabbed
know.
it.
Sorry.
But they were. It's
Struck a
just
chord when you were talking about it. So
yeah, it was just something I had gotten. People send me stuff, right? And this company sent me a presentation folder thing that was made from recycled paper, right? But it felt like leather. It was the coolest thing, right? So people are constantly making new stuff all the time. And so it's like, how can we use this technology and these new substrates and this new thinking to do something better? And you look, in different industries, like you see packaging now for like soft drinks and stuff, where it's the bottle is made from plant fiber instead of plastic, right? Yeah. And so if you're sustainability minded, right, So when you do your mailer that you're shipping your shirts in, is that made from a sustainably sourced product? Or can we reuse a box instead of making your own box? Can you just put a sticker on an existing box and that's okay? Right. So what are the choices that we are making? This goes a long way in how you're thinking about how you position your company and what you do. Because, when we ship something to somebody, they're going to take that box and they're going to throw it away or they're going to put it in the recycle bin. Right. What if it was recycled to begin with?
That's great.
Right. And not new. Right. Do you need a new package? Some would argue yes, some would argue no. Right. But can that new package be made from sustainably sourced materials? Right.
That's great.
So it really starts the conversation and a lot of possibilities open up because, and we were talking before the webinar, Mark, where, to use a quote from Donald Rumsfeld, it's like, it's the unknown known, right? We don't know. we have to find out the answer. And just by asking better questions, we can do that. And the 3 R's, reduce, reuse, recycle. If you start just with that idea about how can we reduce, how can we reuse, how can we recycle, and start asking more questions, you in 5 minutes, you'll come up with, 30 questions you can be asking about these 3 points in everything that you do. And that's where you start.
That's awesome. All right. So shifting to shirts and decoration.
Yes.
So your bread and butter here, Marshall.
Bread and butter, right? So we all use shirts, right? We know what that means, right? And even for Gouden customers that aren't in apparel, right? They're getting a print made for a wall hanging or something, right? So that could be the same thing. So what are we using as the substrate, right? Is it organic? Is it recycled? Is it a combo of that? Is it made from virgin fibers, or is it recycled? Just all that kind of stuff. Look at that. But that's not where it stops. Okay. It also has to look at the decoration method, right? How we're doing things. And typically with print on demand, it's going to be DTG, right? And that is a fairly sustainable method because we're printing as things are being ordered, right? Which is fantastic. It's also using primarily a water-based ink, and we don't really have a lot of errors with it. That kind of stuff. So it's really kind of a really good system. But we have to combine these two to have a sustainable product. So these are the questions you have to ask, because maybe there is a really great shirt that's more sustainable, but it doesn't take DTG very well. That's not going to work, right? So it's the formula here. It's the shirt plus the decoration. That's what we're really looking at here. So we need to make sure that the choices that we make add up into a really great product that your customers love. And so this is our thinking has to be around that.
I'm going to give a little plug to the ebook that we collaborated on with you. That's going to be coming out. We're going to launch it next month with you, and hopefully you'll come back and walk us through that, because I know you go into some pretty good depth of shirt and blank selection, as well as the different printing techniques. So
I'm excited.
We'll talk about that next
book, Mark.
So I know it's in the final throes of design on our side, so we're excited to launch that with you. So we appreciate that. All right, so let's keep moving on here. Data. Why is data in the discussion about sustainability, Marshall?
Well, you have to measure, right? So I'm a big believer in, even if you're not doing anything right now, and let's decide you start your sustainability journey, you need to take a snapshot of where you are. And that way, when you start improving things, you can measure the delta. How well did we do? Is it getting worse or is it getting better? Right. And so if we keep data on things, that means that we can have a little dashboard and we can understand that we're making progress or not. And of course, if we're setting goals, then we can be marching to the goal. And if things aren't working the way that we want them to work, then we can make a change, and then we can see the results improve or stay the same or get worse or whatever. And then we can try something else. And this is how we solve our problems and hit our goals, is because we're measuring. It isn't my gut feeling. I've built a speedometer so I know what I'm doing, right? So we have to be able to measure things. So if you're looking, and if you're wanting to be sustainable, we have to understand the data, and we have to be looking at stuff. So a good thing to be looking at maybe is your energy consumption, right? Or your carbon footprint, or the amount of something that you're using or printing or shipping or whatever. So you could look at how much packaging that we're sending to a recycler, or you could look at your error rate, because if we do everything 100% correct every single time, that's better than we have a 5% defect rate. Okay. So what we're wanting is always better, but we have to be measuring to understand where we are in the process. So that means a soul-sucking spreadsheet. you have to make a spreadsheet. Okay. That's the easiest and best way to do it. I'm the spreadsheet king. I've got spreadsheets for everything. And I love looking at this data, because that tells me I'm on the right track or not. Right. And so if you don't know anything about spreadsheets, I'll happily help you. And I'm a big Google spreadsheet guy.
You're gonna be offering Excel 101 next.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, I like Google Sheets better than Excel because it's online and you can share. Right. I'm a big Google Sheet guy, but you need a dashboard, and you need to be measuring, and you can measure money, you can measure numbers, you can measure effectiveness, you can measure a lot of things, but it's all about understanding where you are now and where you want to go. That's why data is important.
I think one of the things you and I had even talked about measuring, like in the print on demand world, especially like at Gouden, we try to optimize where something's produced, and then getting it as close as possible to the end consumer, so that we can actually reduce the travel time, or the shipping distance between where something's produced and where it has to go to the consumer. So we even look at things like that ourselves as a barometer, right? And can we shrink that down?
Yeah, think about that. That's also called your carbon footprint.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So what certifications should people consider? I know this has been a huge area that you've been focusing on, so maybe you can talk through some of the organizations that you think people should follow.
Well, my number one is going to be the Sustainable Green Printing Partnership, which is sgppartnership.org. Okay. They are, to me, the leading print certification that you need, or your vendors need, to be a sustainable printer. As I mentioned earlier, I've actually gotten 2 companies to go through the certification process and become certified, as well as I was on the board of directors for a while. And so this is a third-party audit. This frankly isn't easy to get. It takes about 8 months to a year to get the certification. It's difficult. The reason why you want it, and the reason why there's value, is because they don't monkey around. Okay. You want this certification because if you get the certification, or you're using a printer that's certified, guess what? They do the right thing. And the SGP certification, you have to get recertified every 2 years. Wow. So it isn't like we did it back in 2010.
Yeah. We're good, done.
Right. So to be an SGP printer, you have to complete an annual project. Every single year, you have one project that you have to complete to improve something in what you do. right?
Wow.
And of course, they could be about anything, but you have to, you're constantly working on improvement. Continuous improvement is sustainable. And that's what we're always trying to get better, right? And so this is a really great thing. I would highly recommend looking, if you're watching, if you are a decorator or you're a printer, I would look into getting an SGP certification. If you're somebody who outsources that or whatever, you could also, they have a list, you can see who has the certification and partner with them, right? And the more that we're demanding this, the more printers will get the certification. So it's kind of like a cycle, right? It's a circular thing. And so it has to be driven by sales more than anything. And I think right now, there's a lot of interest in finding people with the certification because people want to prove that they're doing the right thing. And this is an easy thing because they're using people who know what they're doing, not just claiming they know what they're doing. And there's a big difference.
That's right. Are there any other particular organizations that people should
Yes.
look at or call,
Yep.
or that you want to call out?
Yeah, well, ISO is probably global, right? That's probably the hardest to get. There's also B certified. You can be a B certified corporation. A lot of people might have that. So I would look to all those websites just to see what's best for you. And they're going to have different regulations, different costs, different hoops that somebody's got to jump through. And I would pick the one that's best for you.
Got it. Okay. We'll make sure to send out some of those links as part of this as a follow-up too, Marshall. So thanks for that. Okay. So ask more questions.
Yes. So this is where I would always start, right? And just asking more questions. We mentioned that we're looking for the unknown known. And typically when I talk to business owners or people, you know, that you hear a lot, Mark, we've always done it this way. Right? You've heard that before, right? And it's not because they don't know any better. It's just because they're not asking questions. Right. So if you want to find a better process, a better apparel blank, a better way to ship, a better way to use packaging, right? Asking more questions is the way that gets started. It's just assuming that your current method, there might be a better way. That's it. Is there a better way of doing it? And that's what we want. We want to ask more questions because guess what? There's probably somebody out there that's got the answer. We just haven't found them yet. And that's really what that's about. And you can also ask more questions of your vendors and your supply chain and their apparel company that you like. Maybe there's a brand of shirt that you like. Hey, do you have a better, more eco-friendly blank?
Yeah.
Right. And maybe they do. Maybe you just haven't ever used it yet. Right. Because everybody's different.
Yeah. Well, we certainly welcome people coming to us, and I hope people take away from Gouden the fact that we don't know, we don't know everything, right? But we know hopefully all the experts in the industry, people like yourself, that we can go to and help people get the answers to things too. So feel free to lean on us, and we'll help you try to find the answers as well. So so on. Okay, so Marshall, we talked a lot about the whole gamut here around sustainability and so on. Some of this can be overwhelming for people. So where do you suggest people start, right? If you're kind of tuning in today, you're like, wow, there's so much to do here. I don't even know where to begin. Where do people begin?
Well, I would start with understanding why you want sustainability in the first place. I mentioned that earlier. Okay. And really it's about clarifying what does the end result look like for you. And if you're going to imagine, Mark, that we're going to climb a mountain. Okay. We're going to journey and plant the flag on top of the mountain. All right. That's what we're doing with the sustainability journey. Where are we right now? We're at base camp. We're down in the valley, right? And we want to figure out, right? Do we have a guide? Is there somebody can help us go along that way, right? That's what I do, right? I'm a guide. Or is there a map? Are there other people who've done it before? what do we need as far as, if we're climbing a mountain, it's about equipment and stuff. But for us, it could be a better shirt blank. It could be a better vendor. It could be a lot of like a better process, a better way to ship, a better way to do a lot of stuff. We're going to be assembling everything we need in base camp. So when we start our journey, we're armed with this information, right? And then as we're going along the way, we're constantly going to be measuring and thinking about this stuff, because we might need to adjust our route because we're climbing up the mountain. Maybe we need to go left instead of right because something happened. That could be the way you're doing something right now because of a new process or a government regulation, or the fact that, UPS changes something, who knows, right? So we're going to be figuring this stuff out as we go, and that way we can achieve our end goal. And so if we're trying to start, what I would recommend is picking some easy things to accomplish.
That's great.
At not starting with the most challenging thing that you can think of, right? What's an easy goal that we know that we can easily hit and that we could work toward and figure that part out? Because if you can do that, then we'll learn how to do it. We'll teach yourself how to be sustainable. And then we'll pick the next thing, and then the next thing, and then the next thing. And then by the end of the year, or the end of 2 years or whatever, look at all the stuff that we've done, right? And we're measuring and we're talking about things and we're building a team and we're having success. That's going to propel you to have even more success because it's easier to look back. The problem I think a lot of people have is they want to be 100% off the bat, everything's perfect,
right.
done.
Yeah.
Right.
Wrong expectations, right?
Yeah. And that's just not going to happen. What I would rather see is getting better 1% every day and having better daily habits. So there's a fantastic book by a guy named James Clear called Atomic Habits. And in that book, he talks about building your daily habits, your daily process. So it's these small incremental changes that stack, that add up to this huge benefit at the end, rather than trying to do the big thing all at once.
That's great.
Sustainability is just like that, right? So make small choices. Like, can you not print that email? Right? Can you buy used furniture, or you can, what can you do? Can you make have a committee meeting and talk about, can we just keep our thermostat at 78 degrees instead of 74, right? What can we do, right? Can we find a better t-shirt blank that is more sustainable but still looks great, right? And then start with these things and then add this stuff up. And you might not have all the answers, but what you're going to have is you're going to be building your journey, right? And you're going to be solving these problems. And once you solve that problem, you can go on to the next one, because that problem is done with and you've got some success. So that's what I would really start with what matters to you the most. Find some easy wins, find some easy victories, and then keep pushing.
Wow. That was great. I was going to have a few follow-ups, but I feel like that really was a pretty good conclusion and summary to what people should do. I was also going to just make the comment, Marshall, I loved your analogy of climbing the mountain and you're the guide. If you're the guide, Gouden's the Sherpas. We do the work. We're happy to do the heavy lifting and the work to produce materials for people. So, you be the guide, we'll be the Sherpa, and we have a good team here for folks, hopefully. So, Marshall, thank you so much. I think we're about 45 minutes in here. I want to wrap up and let people get on with their journeys here today. Thank you so much for spending the time with us today, and thank you for everyone who tuned in, whether through Zoom or Facebook Live. Marshall will get this recorded, obviously, and sent over to you so you can share it out as well. We'll post it on Gouden's website. We have a new URL, if folks haven't noticed, for all of our webinars. You can go to gouden.com/webinars. You can reach us at marketing@gouden.com via email as well. And we actually have our next full webinar coming up on April 7th, so just after the Easter holiday. And the topic is actually going to be Andy Need, our Chief Supply Chain Officer, who I think you know, Marshall.
I
He's
do.
going to be talking about some of the things that Gouden specifically does to ensure consistent quality and how we work with our manufacturing partners, our decorating partners. So hopefully folks will tune in for that. And Marshall, again, check out Shirt Lab for folks. We'll make sure people have the link there. And then I know we'll have you back in April to talk about the ebook that we worked on with you that I
Yeah.
think goes into just tremendous detail. So without further ado, Marshall, thank you again for joining us today and enlightening our folks around the topic of sustainability. And we'll see you soon, and we'll see everyone else soon too.
All right.
Thanks
Thank
again.
you, everyone. Take care.
See you. Bye. All right, here. I'm gonna end this now.
You're still live, buddy.
There's so many different things here. I think we're done. I think I got that done.
So do we get any questions?
I don't know. I think
A lot
so.
of people complaining about sound issues.
There was one person at the beginning that seemed to have that. Marshall, I'm gonna end this and just because I think we're still in the session here. So let me end this and I'll reach back out to you.
All right. Hey, see you. Thanks, Mark.
Oh, wait. Yeah. Oh, Zlata just put that in. All right. Thanks, everyone. Marshall, thank you as well. I'll chat with you in a few. Bye.
Okay. All right. Bye.